Hi guys, today I'm here to show you how I got this light, fresh, and pink spring makeup look. The snow is starting to melt, the sun is coming out, and I am feeling like a human again, although I heard there's snow coming next weekend, but we won't get into that. I am super excited to show you this look. I've been really into like bronzy, light makeup, showing off my freckles, incorporating a lot more pink lately as well. So this video is actually sponsored by Hudson's Bay, and I'm really excited to be partnering with them again. I actually partnered with them last year, and I'm always on a crusade to partner with and talk about as many Canadian brands and retailers as possible, because if you are Canadian, you know sometimes it can be harder to get your hands on things. So this is another great way to be able to either shop in store or online to have more accessible options. So they've actually created a top 50 spring trends list, which compiles everything that they see happening in the coming months. A lot of them are things that I was actually doing, so I will have a list down below for you to check it out for yourself. But I was in store last week, and they have signs up as well if you want to head in store to see it in real life, or if you're an online shopper like myself. The list is down below. So a lot of really fun things happening, and this list kind of makes it a little bit easier because some of these things you may already have in your collection. You're like, oh perfect, I'm on trend, or perhaps you want to add to your collection and the list will give you some ideas for what's new and hot. So let's go ahead and get into the look. And as always, starting out with the skin, I want to do a little bit of prep because I do have an oilier skin type. As much as I love to add the bronze and the glow, I can't go too out of control, or I at the very least need to take some precautions to make sure everything sits on my face and still is long lasting. So the first thing I used is this new primer from Clarins. I've actually been using this for a few weeks and really liking it. It's the Instant Poreless Pore Blurring Mattifying Primer. But what I really like about this is it has a really nice kind of like, I wouldn't say a cream gel consistency, but very close to that texture, because a lot of mattifying and pore filling primers can be really thick and heavy, and I find they make my makeup look worse sometimes, especially if you don't use them properly. So you still don't want to use a ton of this, but I just take a little bit, dot it on my forehead, chin, around my nose, and over my nose. Those are kind of my more porous and oily areas, and I feel like it really helps to smooth things out. So I'm actually going to be starting from the last trend, number 50, which is palettes, and kind of the possibility of palettes. You can get really creative and kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone if it's like an eyeshadow palette, or just the versatility of palettes in general, which is what I find with this one. This is one I've owned for a very long time. I've been on trend. I've been waiting for spring 2019 to break this out. No, not actually. I've been using this for a long time. It's the Pro Concealing Correct Palette Medium Deep, and I love this because I can basically use all the shades, and that's not always the case with face palettes. I feel like MAC does a good job with their face palettes. So I used this shade here, and it was just because I don't have a lot of breakouts or anything on my skin, a little bit of redness, a little bit of unevenness, and because I was using such a little amount of foundation, like I've been using the tiniest amount of foundation lately, I just want to go in and spot, conceal, or correct with a little bit of this around my mouth, around some redness on my face, just so that I can put even less foundation for even lighter layers, because that's really what I've been doing lately, is just really tiny bits of everything, and I've been loving the light coverage life. I don't know what's happening, but this palette is really good for a little bit of spot concealing, and as you can see, or maybe you can't see, but I've got quite a dent in the orange here because I use that all the time again to do a little bit of color correction. I have a little bit of darkness just around my mouth and in my kind of smile lines or whatever those are there. So just a little bit of darkness there. I didn't color correct today because I wanted to keep it light, but really good versatile palette, and comes in a bunch of shades too. For my foundation, I used the Ordinary Coverage Foundation. I really like this. Best of all, it costs $6.90. It's amazing. It's so affordable. Comes in a ton of different shades too, and you are getting a full fluid ounce in here. I know it looks really small, but it is still the average size of a foundation. So really nice and compact. I reviewed this maybe 2 years ago, but they do stock this both in store and online at Hudson's Bay, which is awesome, along with a lot of the other Ordinary products as well if you're curious to try the line. Lots of great skincare in there, but I used like 1 pump of this, a tiny amount, mixed it in with the Clinique Sun-Kissed Face Gelée. This is new to me. I actually did find this on the top 50 spring trends list in number 45, which is glow boosters. All about a glow booster, be it winter, spring, summer, fall, but this, I am obsessed with this. So I use this today and mix it in with the foundation, which it has like a clear or sheer gelée texture, but it's super bronze, but there's no shimmer in there, no glitter, and that's why I love it so much. It's so versatile. It is so pretty and natural looking on the skin. So today I not only normally mix it in with my foundation, but then after that I did use it as just a bronzer and put it all over where I would normally bronze my face, including my nose. And because it's sheer, it looks so natural. It is just so pretty. It's oil free, so it doesn't add any greasiness. And back in the day, like, how old would I have been? Maybe 15, 16, 17. My grandmother always used a product like this, and it was kind of this like bronzy gelée, and I didn't know really much about makeup. I had no idea how to match myself, and I would always like steal hers and mix it in with a moisturizer just to add a little bit of color to my face and evenness, whatever it may be. And this is basically like that, and I love it the most as a bronzer, but it also mixes in great with a foundation, especially in the spring, summer, as you might start to deepen up, or you just got back from a vacation. It's a good way to deepen up a foundation, and then you can also use it as a bronzer. It does come in one shade. I think most skin tones would be able to use it, but for me it's just the perfect shade, and it looks so natural, so bronzy. I'm so glad I discovered it. I really think I'm going to be using this a lot. You'll be glad to hear that number 11 on the list is pink, because you might know I love a little bit of peach. I realized in doing like my favorite blushes video, my favorite multitasking blushes, they're all like this same peachy and orange hues. So this is good to get me to step out into some more pink shades, but I've been loving to incorporate creams into my routine. Although I do have oily skin, I find they can act as really great anchors for powder products, along with just being really natural and really, really pretty on the skin. So I've talked about these time and time again, the NARS liquid blushes. So today I used the shade Dolce Vita, which is a pink, but I would say it's a little bit of a mauvey pink. I think I skipped over concealer, but I used the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. This is my second or third tube of this. I absolutely love it. Staple in my collection. I know I haven't showed it a lot recently in videos because I do try to mix it up a little bit, but I absolutely love this. I only used a tiny bit of it. I honestly was debating not using it at all. I mean, you can still see like my freckles and stuff, because sometimes people are like, why are you covering up your freckles? And it's not that I'm covering up my freckles, but like, it's my job to test out foundations and concealers. Like, I'll go out of business if I don't cover up my freckles sometimes, but I do love them. So I just like adding a little bit of concealer to add a little bit of brightness under the eyes, because I've said this before, but my freckles kind of conjoin with my under eyes, so it's a little bit tricky to do both. So I've just been adding like a tiny bit of concealer. I'm so guilty of going overboard with concealer. The more Instagram and YouTube you watch, I think the more concealer you end up putting on your face, so I'm trying to gear down a little bit on that front. Back to the idea of palettes, I did use this MAC palette. It is their Sculpt and Shape Contour Palette. This one is in the medium dark. I used the yellow shade to set my under eyes. Really like this. I was afraid it was going to be a little bit too dark for me, but I think you can see that it did a nice job of brightening, has a little bit of coverage in there, and I will come back to this palette to contour my face, but to lightly set my face. Sometimes when I'm wearing a little bit of a lighter coverage foundation, like a liquid, I like to set everything in place with a powder foundation to add just a smidge more coverage, but also just, again, keeping in that longevity theme. I want to be glowy, but I want it to last on my face as long as possible. So I use the Dior Skin, this has a long name, Dior Skin Forever Extreme Control Compact Foundation, and I've actually never used this, I don't think, as a powder foundation, but I do really like it to set my makeup. Just adds a little bit of matteness, but not like too flat. And then back to the palette trend, I'm wearing the Clarins Ready in a Flash Eyes and Brows palette. And I really like this. It has a really interesting texture. So I took this shade here, which is one of the matte eyeshadow shades, and ran that through my crease. It is a little bit of a cooler toned brown. I'm trying to not only use warm browns all the time. I saw this really funny meme the other day. It was like me on a Saturday watching like colorful makeup tutorials, knowing full well I'm gonna be reaching for like all my warm rusty browns when I go to leave the house. And I was like, yeah, that's me. So trying to mix it up, I promise. So I took this matte brown shade, ran it through the crease, and then this beautiful pink. I thought this was so pretty because I've done a lot of like darker pink looks lately that are a little more intense, but I wanted this to still be like springy and wearable and whatever, and just a little bit more fresh and light. So I took that beautiful pink, which they're calling the highlighter, and put that on my lid, and I thought it was gorgeous. I didn't add any extra primer, and it just had the beautiful kind of like pinky gold shift, which I thought was so pretty. And then I did take a little bit of this deeper matte and just put it in my outer corner as well, just to slightly deepen it, not a whole lot there. For a little bit of something different, I did add on some pink eyeliner, and that's not something I normally ever do, but I wanted to try and mix it up, and I didn't want to do a black liner because I felt like that may be a little too heavy for kind of the look that I was going for, but I also didn't want it to look too like I don't know what to call it, like too, not fashion forward, but I just don't want it to be too eye-catching, you know what I mean? Like if you're up close talking to me, I wanted to be able to see the liner, but it's not like a huge in-your-face deal, because I feel like that's a more realistic way for me anyways. I probably wouldn't go out with like hot pink liner very often anyways, because it would just take too much time and it's just a whole thing. So I thought that this was a fun way to incorporate some more pink. And then on my inner corner, I used the shade Petal Pop. This is one of the Clinique lid pops. I really, really love this, and I've had it for a long time and I haven't reached for it recently. So I put this on my inner corner, but I also put it on my brow bone, which I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I almost never highlight my brow bone. If anything, it'll be a matte cream shade, but almost never a shimmer, and almost never a matte. But anyways, I've decided to highlight my brow bone. I don't even know if you can tell a difference, but again, trying to go for that like super glowy fresh thing, and these are so pretty, and I'm actually going to use this as a highlight momentarily, so stay tuned for that. For mascara, I decided to break out this beautiful, beautiful specimen. It is the YSL Vinyl Couture. I don't know if it's the gold or the square or the clear tube, but it is just the most beautiful mascara in the world. But on top of that, the formula is actually really, really good too. So it's not just a beautiful vanity item, but I actually do really love this. Great volume, great length. The price tag is definitely up there, but if you were eyeing it and kind of like, is it really worth it? Is it actually any good, or is it just pretty? It's definitely both pretty and effective. So I really love that. Moving back out to the rest of my face, but quickly, I just want to mention, I got a blowout the other day and I had to kind of like re-straighten it because I kind of messed it up, and then I re-curled it myself. This is my second time ever curling my hair with a flat iron, and I can't give you a tutorial because I still barely know what I'm doing and it took me a really long time, but I'm pretty impressed that I did this. I don't know. It's not as good as when my stylist does it, but anyways, pretty impressed with myself. This is the bronzing powder from Bobbi Brown. I've heard amazing, I feel like Bobbi Brown bronzers are some of the most popular parts of her line, in addition to like the shimmer bricks. But I decided to pick this up when I was at Hudson's Bay the other day, and this is the Natural One shade. And I'm really glad I went with this because I was looking at the other shades. They looked a lot warmer, and I definitely wanted a warmer bronzer for this look, but bronzers are the most deceiving thing. Like looking at this, it doesn't look like, first of all, it would do anything on my skin tone, and it also looks like it would just be too cool toned, but it's so pretty. It really blends out really nicely. I have a tendency, or I used to anyways, before I kind of knew better, to really buy bronzers that were far too dark just by looking at them, because I would swatch it on my hand and I would want to see that really big contrast. But when I swatch this on my hand, it almost looks like nothingness. I don't even know if you can see that, but I find those are the best bronzers when you can just see it, because you don't want to add, well, you might want to, but I don't want to add like a ton of contrast. I just want it to look like a little more definition, a little bit warmer, and really only be like maybe 2-3 shades darker than my skin tone. So I was really impressed with this. I can see why they are so popular. Really beautiful texture, super blendable, and really, really buildable too. Now for blush, we're getting crazy. I know I encouraged you to try like true red blushes, true orange blushes, and today we're going true pink. This is Full Fuchsia from MAC, and oh, I actually put some of this in on my eye look too. You would have seen that by now, I totally forgot. But I did just want to show you that this is not only like a really, really hot kind of fuchsia pink, but it can be used in lighter applications too on the eyes. I totally forgot that I put it on my eyes, but this is beautiful. I used a Sigma tapered brush, which they sell Sigma at Hudson's Bay as well, if you didn't know, which is nice because you can go in and kind of touch and feel them in store, or again, they're online. But I use this brush because it is so kind of fluffy and tapered, because this is a very, very intense blush. I've been using it, I've been playing around with it, and this is definitely my favorite way to go because it's matte. So it's not, is it matte? Oh, it's a frost? Doesn't feel very frosty. That's funny because I never ever buy like frost products, but it looks more matte to me. But anyways, really, really good wear time because it is such a bold color. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. You don't need to be scared, I promise. You've seen me use it now, so I'm sure you can do the same. And as I mentioned, I did use an eyeshadow as a highlighter today. That doesn't always work because you don't want it to be too glittery or too metallic on your cheeks, but this is one that I actually keep this eyeshadow in my highlighting drawer because I use it as an eyeshadow, or sorry, as a highlighter more than I do an eyeshadow. So like I said, Clinique Petal Pop, really gorgeous kind of shade, and although it is quite glowy. If you use a less dense brush, it'll pick up less product, and it is kind of like that gelée texture where it's kind of hard and densely packed, so you don't pick up too much product at a time. I really piled it on here today, but you can obviously go a little bit lighter. I get asked quite often about fragrances, and I don't talk about it a lot, sometimes in my monthly makeup baskets, just because I feel like I'm not like that qualified to talk about fragrances. I just kind of like what I like. I have no idea what the notes are or anything like that. But number 17 on this list of top 50 for spring trends is this guy from Givenchy, or just new fragrances in general, but this is one of their listed fragrances and recommendations. So this is the Rosy Crush, and I have done my research. The notes are peony, rose, musk, along with cocoa bean. It is a very strong fragrance, so I sprayed it on myself here today for like video purposes, but generally I'll spray it and like walk into it. Really gorgeous. Like the bottle itself is beautiful. I love that like all perfumes now are like pinky blush because they all look really good on my vanity together, which is irrelevant but relevant in my life. And I really like this. It has a gorgeous rose scent, but I don't know, I've gotten more into rose scents over the past like year and a half, 2 years, but it's still not like that powdery, really intense. And like I said, it is a strong scent, so maybe don't go like zhuzh, 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 zhuzh all over yourself, just like a zhuzh and a walk through. That's generally my method, but I really love this. And then while we're keeping on the spray trend, this is basically empty. I don't know if you can see. I've obviously had this for some time, but it is the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix. This is the best setting spray I've ever used, I think. This is my top recommendation. I feel like I don't hear enough people talking about it. I have others that I really love, but this is so good. It does a really beautiful job just keeping your makeup looking fresh and keeping it on. So good. I feel like I don't hear enough people talking about it, and I feel like I don't talk about it enough because I've only been using it on like special occasions because I'm like running through, so figured today was a special occasion. And then lastly, for kind of rounding out the pink that we've been putting on our face for the pink trend, I've talked about this, but in the orange a million times over. The orange comes with me on vacation for the past year. Like everywhere I've been, the orange has come with me. But this is the Clarins Water Lip Stain in Rose Water. These are like melted jello is the only way I can describe the texture, the scent, kind of the taste if you happen to get a little bit in your mouth. But there's not a lot of stains out there, I feel like true stains, and I feel like this is really buildable. You'll see that I built it up on my lips. I add a little bit, pat it out with my finger, and kind of let it dry. You don't want to pile on a ton because it does have that watery, jelly kind of texture. It comes in 4 different shades. I grabbed the pink today, of course, but the orange is one of my absolute favorites as well. So here is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed getting ready with me. I will, of course, have the list down below, the Hudson's Bay Spring 50 trend list. If you'd like to see what else is on the list, and in addition to that, I will have everything that I used listed down below if you would like to check it out for yourself. But let me know which trend is intriguing you the most. I feel like for me, it's glow boosters always. I'm really into like liquid bronzers and things like that lately, and that Clinique one just absolutely blew me away. I have not stopped using it for the past like 2 weeks. I've been loving it. So let me know down below what has intrigued you the most, and as I mentioned, I will have everything else linked down below too. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Hudson's Bay for partnering with me on this video, and if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!